Today's show is brought to you by Audible. Please visit audiblepodcast.com/wizard for your free audiobook download.
It is.
It's the 1st of May 2013 is hilarious.
I'm fine with that if you want to do it.
It's the 1st of May 2013.
The first day of May 2013.
And this is
You
Adult
are going to be that shitty dad. I mean, it'll be a good
I'm
dad,
gonna be
but
a
your
loving
kid's gonna
good
be
The
dad.
thing is, it's going to go
Adult
from
Thumbs
looking at your friends
104
like knowing you've been
shitty
something
dad.
lame to like the lean back in the chair, satisfied
Yep,
smirk. I'm just
exactly.
like, Dad said a clever thing. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
No love for Dad?
Whatever. I pay
Look
for
around
them,
and turn up the TV, and that's like...
pay for them to be alive.
You're already getting into the spirit.
You would say that to yourself.
That's because I'm moving in with my wife tomorrow.
Wait, really? Tomorrow?
She's moving home. I'm not
Oh, that's
moving
awesome.
out tomorrow, but she's
No,
she's coming back to San Francisco for permanent.
I'm not
Congratulations.
moving out, but she's moving in, know what I mean? Sorry, I don't know.
I'm not leaving my apartment yet. You fucking weirdo. It's the first day of May 2013.
Games, video 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 games, video. Video games.
It's the first day of May 2013.
And it's May 1st, 2013.
This is Idle Thumbs 104, and I'm Chris Remo.
I'm Jake Rodkin.
I'm Sean Vanaman.
And I'm Nick Bracken.
You almost got it in there.
I did.
It's all right, man.
This is going to be one of the
Better luck next time.
So, Nick, you're high energy today.
games. Yeah,
I'm feeling great.
It's
Yeah.
games.
It's
Yeah.
pretty good.
Is it because we've been... I was going to seg. I'm going to lie. It was going to be really unnatural.
There's nothing you
seg.
can seg from.
Are we just
Go ahead.
Are we going to go right
You're
out of
just
the intro
introducing
into
it.
the aftermath?
The aftermath of Triton.
What, the aftermath is just our podcast?
Yeah.
The podcast is just an aftermath of our disastrous
Going
introduction.
into that afterthought.
Yeah, I do with three other guys. I do this weekly introduction where we all say who we are, and then it kind of just devolves into
And
talking
then we
about
just
video
kind of
games.
crap about
It's
nothing
pretty
for
stupid,
an hour.
yeah.
Yeah.
So what... I'm so... The thing
Oh,
is,
so you
I'm
guys
so-
know
I
what's
feel I
happening
need
right
to
now.
gear
So
up.
this
I
is
need-
like
I need
the
to
moment
gear
of
up for
tension
this.
as you guys decide how to
well,
address Neptune's pride and the
it's really-
calamities that have befallen you.
It's been a week of kind of denouement here, and I don't.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I don't feel as fired up about it as I was at the time.
What happened?
Oh, I know what happened.
No, I mean, so you know what actually
what is-
happened?
Nick sort of told me some stuff,
Oh,
but
okay.
I told
I
him to
guess
save
we
it
should.
for the cast.
Yeah, we should.
I
Explain.
know
Okay,
nothing about what
so
happened.
the reason we have sort of slow faded out
Right.
on Neptune's Pride is that
Neptune's Pride 2, Triton.
that's right, available at
Triton.ironhelmet.com, I think.
Yes.
yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
So the guy who's running it at Telltale, I'm not going to name names because I think it'd be mean because what he did was despicable. But
You know who you are.
you know who you are, Master Jasper. I can say his.
Jake's like,
What? I don't care.
But,
well, no, I have some things to clarify after, but
well, what it
we'll
seemed to
cover,
be
we'll cover
is
the
that we had an
basics.
AFK player instantly who had 5 stars.
Yeah.
Who is an
But-
actual guy.
Yeah, who's an actual guy, but he just went away.
It's a real guy.
So it's a guy in there. And his home star just had like 200 chips on it because that's what'll happen if somebody leaves the game.
Yeah, it was
their
too
home star
predictable.
has the most industry, probably like 5 or 6 points of industry. So it'll just churn out like stars on the hour. I mean, ships. I mean,
Yeah.
on the hour.
It turns out
Other stars, making it very difficult to win. So his home planet had all these ships on it, and he just all of a sudden Nick was like going there.
Yeah, I had a fleet kind of on. Well, I wasn't going to that star. I was going to an adjacent star.
Right. So he was going to an adjacent star because people just started parsing up this guy's AFK stars.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, this AFK star's ships all move off of his home star and intercept Nick at another star, just as another player's 2 ships, like they literally like wave to each other upon takeoff and landing. He timed it perfectly to land 2 ships on this guy's home star, getting all this resource and all this science and all
Right,
this
without having to fight anyone.
without ever having to fight anybody. Yeah. So it just looked like he just moved off of it, even though this guy was.
There was a 12-hour span of me just going like, "Oh, he just moved his ships into the major thing. He's totally dead. That's so funny." Then like 6 hours later, I wonder if 6 hours after that, oh shit, like I'm getting screwed.
Yeah.
So it's, for the people who can't follow along what you're saying, your
I
suspicion.
mean, for everyone.
Yeah. Your suspicion was that the guy who went AFK was being controlled by
this is an
other
important
player
distinction.
who was moving on.
the person
The
who was
suspicion was that
admitting
it was a direct.
the guy who's running the game took control of this AFK player to
turned
give
out-
himself an advantageous.
out that was not the case.
He did not actually take control. The AFK player was acting on their own, but it was because the guy who was running the game just went over to that guy and said, "Could you just move your ships? Thanks.
Yeah. Don't worry. You don't have to play. Just move your
Just
ships.
move your ships off this planet."
You just
for me."
log in once and move your ships.
That's what you're supposed to do. That's the rules for a
So
new AFK.
it still technically falls under the rules of just douchey subterfuge, but that's a cheap move.
Yeah.
Well, because only
was questionable.
I think. I mean,
hold on. I want to point. Instead of I like that falling under douchey subterfuge was actually like the acceptable thing. You're like, look, we can all agree that this falls under douchey subterfuge, but it was a little lame. What?
I don't know.
That's a
I wasn't
hilarious
in on this
contrast.
game of Neptune's Pride, but
Nick and I had a long conversation about this. Actually,
Yeah.
we walked to lunch, and we walk across a ways to get there. And so we had a very long conversation about what we just called the spirit of the game.
Yeah.
Because
We drew a line.
what I was thinking of is I was gonna send somebody to a meeting that didn't exist, or just wait till they were in a meeting and just go under the computer.
Oh my god!
And just. And I wasn't going to move. And when I started delineating, I was like, look, if I send messages as them, is that within the spirit of the game? It was iffy. And then
if I just delete their Google account so they can't log in anymore,
right, but then it was
is
like,
that within the
like, it was if I move any of their ships or spend any of their money or anything like that, that felt against the spirit of the game. That was just straight up cheating.
Yeah.
So we had to delineate in this game, because I think that's actually one of the benefits of the game. And somebody on the forums, I kind of just sort of like was very dismissive of this person, but I feel like I should go back and really address why I was. Said like, there's nothing about Neptune's Pride that I think is mechanically that interesting. It just seems like a really basic game. Mm-hmm. But I think it's its basic mechanics and its omission of a lot of other mechanics that would stop you from doing stupid things or prevent people from breaking alliances that makes the game so great. So you kind of have to sort of have these conversations. Like, is this okay? Is this something I'm willing to do? Knowing you're just going to hurt people in this game. You're going to really piss people off because it's a time investment, you know?
Yeah.
So
those rules also become more intense when it's an in-office game. Like if you're playing online, you have to
Yeah.
go as
I've
far
never had
as
an experience of this
break
intense
into someone
before.
else's machine or find out where they live. Whereas when it's an in-office game, weirder things happen.
I mean, because look, I wouldn't be breaking the law to go on to Nick Herman's computer.
Right.
While he's in a meeting.
You might
but if
be,
I went to
you might be
somebody's
breaking
house,
company.
but if I went to somebody's house, no, we have an open computer policy. Nobody's allowed to have a password on their
we
computer.
do.
Weird.
It's because it's a stupid reason, but I actually don't mind it. What was I going to say? But yeah, if I have to go into somebody's house, I'm breaking a social contract beyond the spirit of the game.
You could see an in-office game though, where you just say, "Computers are computers. Open computer policy. Keep your business to yourself." Like, just know.
Right. If the spirit was, and that would be.
Isn't that just encouraging people to set up like non-office sanctioned security on their computer? Like, I mean, if that's like understood that everyone's going to be just going around logging in everyone's machine all the time,
that
like
falls into the same rule as like just keep an eye on what's going
Everybody
on.
choose a password out of the hat.
No, people would just build traps. You would just like basically, if you sat down, you have a nail that go through your thigh.
Right. I mean, I think if you said
And
the
there's
rule
this
is
chair.
still you cannot violate office computer policy, you'd end up with people doing additive measures such as affixing a webcam to their computer and waiting for someone else to use it when in a meeting and watching
Oh
on
my
their cell
God.
phone, then jumping up out of a desk because you see Master Jasper sending. But no one would ever go that far.
No.
People were generally very polite about it.
So I have a few things to air here before we get out of this completely. No.
I'm not
so
saying
you weren't privy to any of this because I didn't actually talk to you very much after this game was over. And the reason for that is that Pierre, our friend and colleague, pulled me into the writer's room on a day I think you were mostly gone or just completely not in the office.
Intrigue.
And it turned into like an hour-long discussion about like what actually happened in this game.
By the way, I want to say that your guys' office sounds ridiculous. Every time I hear a story about this, it's always accompanied with, we just went into a conference room for an hour. And that's like every day apparently.
How does anything get made?
Half of your
fine.
hours just talking about fucking Neptune's Pride.
So
anyway, go ahead, Nick.
Yeah.
There's real work that gets
Wait,
done.
there's about Dota again.
Anyway, so I went in this conference room with Pierre. And Pierre was, we were going over the thing that happened, and we kind of came.
You're talking about this AFK.
Yeah, the AFK issue. And then Pierre said, "So what did you actually like? What actually happened during this game? Let's do a little debrief." And it turned out, so if you remember from the first podcast that we talked about this, there was an email that I sent out that started basically like it was just the catalyst for all of this insane deception.
Yeah, you were the first actor.
Yeah.
You assassinated Archduke Franz Ferdinand.
Pretty much, yeah. It was the tinderbox just exploded with this email. And the amazing thing about it is that, so you and I...
What did this email actually...
the email was...
The 4 players.
It was it involved 4 players. And the email was, hey, everybody, we should attack this one guy. And the one guy called Wolf Cop, we assumed
that was the guy we thought was Pierre.
That was the guy we thought was Pierre. So, okay, so at that point, then you know what I'm going to say. At that point in the timeline, all right, you and I were like really closely conferring on this game. And
I thought we were up to the end for what it's worth, but I'll let you continue.
Oh, no, we were.
Okay.
Well, so...
Just keep going.
So we didn't know that Wolf Cop wasn't Pierre. There was a moment
folly.
where the real Wolf Cop came over to our desk and revealed himself. And you seemed extremely surprised that that was the case. However, me and talking to Pierre goes, oh yeah, so Sean and I were talking about the game outside of work early on, first couple days, which I asked you if you had talked to Pierre, and you said, no, I haven't talked to Pierre. I swear to God,
he has a timeline flipped, because we were sitting...
Does he have it flipped?
Yeah, because we were sitting at the Buckshot on a Saturday afternoon, on 420.
Yeah.
I remember it perfectly because I had to ride my motorcycle through his neighborhood, and he lives in the Haight.
Okay.
And I wanted to I was like, well, if I had a Gatling gun, I could get, I would be home. Because then I said, just meet me at this bar that's outside of your neighborhood, and we'll just get burgers and a beer and chat. Yeah. And that is where that reveal happened, which was before.
Okay,
I remember that.
So anyway, let's continue this. Neptune's
so that was
parlor
important
scene. Like, what's
you thought I had something? You thought I was performing?
I thought. Well, I kind of had guessed that wasn't the case. I figured that his timeline was out of order because that would have been an amazing acting job by you. But
how dare you?
Well, no, I'm just saying. I believed you. That said, what Pierre revealed was that in you talking to him and talking about that email and saying like, oh, you're not Wolf Cop or whatever, you basically like he didn't suspect that email, like he put 2 and 2 together from that conversation and realized that email right,
but missed.
And that was my downfall. That was basically Pierre going, oh, you were gonna take me out, huh? And like, what's amazing about it is...
Oh, because he's like, you thought it was me. You were going to attack me, Pierre. He took it personally.
Yeah, he took it very personally, and so did Harrison. And then those two got together.
Wait, was Harrison the actual Wolf Cop?
Yes.
Harrison was the actual Wolf Cop, and he took it extremely personally. Even though, after the fact, I said, Harrison, it's fine, like, because we had that conversation where he came over our desk.
Me, but I thought you were coming for Pierre?
Well, right.
Well, we were all going to turn on red. We all were going to turn on red.
Hold on, here's the question, though. Had you been conspiring in person with Harrison, thinking that he was not Wolf Cop, but that he was one of the people on the email? Like, were you and Harrison hanging out being like, we're going to fucking take out Pierre?
No.
So we were under the impression that on that email was you and me, Pierre, and an unknown 4th party.
Right.
And then we were half right, but it was only because we looked at each other and knew that we were both on the email. So we were completely wrong about who the other 2 people are.
Exactly. Yeah. But it was that conversation that then they both. The amazing thing about it to me, just talking to those guys after the fact, is how personally they took that. And the funny thing is, we didn't know anything. We were just going after this anonymous blue blob on the map,
right?
And it was just they took it so personally. Like they were so like that. Most of that hour in that writer's room was Pierre driving home. How much I would have been completely demolished if we just continued like another 6 hours. He was like, "No, you don't understand. You were so done. We drew up a map. They drew up a battle plan. They had like arrows coming in to me and like a whole like coordinated attack. Like it was ridiculous. But they took it so personally.
So really, had
funny.
you known that, the game ended because you...
Oh, no, that's the funny thing. The AFK thing, completely irrelevant because I was dead anyway.
Right, but
and if they had simply not done that,
you
everything would've
unmasked the cheating and were like, I'm out of this game. But
Right.
if you knew
Just
now,
in time.
if you knew now that there were battle maps going on, you would have been like, okay, I found a cheater, but we have to keep playing because...
Oh, yeah.
Because
I was disappointed.
There's like
We were
miniature
really
ships
bummed.
being moved around in a conference room somewhere else, where someone else is taking up half a day building a replica of space.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, there were a lot of interesting things going on.
Bummed. I was really because I had I was sitting pretty.
Yeah.
I was.
Well, you think so.
Oh, really? What do you know?
I mean, Harrison knew that you were gunning for him. I mean, like, eventually.
Right.
I mean,
I have no other options. He's
Right.
like I was the top of the map, and he was my only neighbor. Like eventually,
he was never going to attack red. Ever.
Oh, really?
Ever.
I kind of figured he wouldn't.
He 100% didn't fall for anything. He was not buying what we were selling. We
I
actually,
sent him a bunch of tech.
The revelation of all of this was that, like...
God, I really was I felt like the U.S. So I was like sequestered off, and I only had one neighbor.
Spot.
So what I would
were both in
do
tough
is I
spots.
would
What you're saying is you could be president instead of Obama.
easily.
Space president. Obama is recognized
Earth president.
sitting president of the
Garbage.
United States.
Yeah.
Space president Vanaman has different plans.
But I would just send other like nations or whatever tech and say, "Will you fight this guy?
Yeah.
Here's weapons."
Yeah.
Right.
Because I had so much tech. I had so at one point I had like
supplier?
I was basically
he was
just like I was just Charlie
funding
Wilson's
weird
war.
coups and
Yeah, like it was just look. I'll give you weapons 3 if you weapons 3. I only have weapons 2. Yeah, dude. Nobody else has weapons 3 except me. Take weapons 3, and you will just run roughshod over these people.
Yeah.
Oh, and then so I was just pumping military into the map, trying to get people to just stir up some shit.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you have
was the
weapons
only-
4 and everything.
It was the only skill it was the only move I really had,
Yeah.
given my position on the map. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was working.
Yeah.
I was like third. I was ranked third when the game
I did
was
some of
over.
that, but I ended up just spiraling out of control with my deception because.
Oh, you were, yeah.
But I mean, I couldn't really do anything else.
But you were like
that
Mesopotamia. You were just like the
that AFK player though.
crossroads.
That AFK player actually screwed up everything because if that AFK player didn't exist, I would have actually had some. I could have focused on one half of the map.
Yeah.
But because that did exist.
Yeah.
That was the first thing that everybody dealt with, and it just split my attention and basically just took it. Any chance
Mm-hmm.
at it. But anyway, yeah.
So if you want to try this yourself, there are some. I know that there are some Idle Thumbs games that I think.
If you're on IT for a major company, you need to know what sites to block.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
This is a good one.
Yeah, but there are people on the Idle Thumbs forums who have been setting up Neptune's Pride 2 games. So if you want to get on this, you can go on there.
It's really fun.
And I think they're doing the thing where they anonymize names, which is good.
Anonymizing names is a hilarious.
That's the way to go. That's what
sub-game.
leads to all this bullshit these guys
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
talking about.
Yeah.
Mr. Brisket. That was his
It
name.
was a good run. It was a good run.
Yeah.
Mr. Brisket will ride again.
The fact that you named it Mr. Brisket because it's the name of a sandwich at a barbecue place down the street is hilarious to me. And then when he was like, when the game was over, he's like, I guess we just got to go to Speed Pig and I'm going to get a Mr. Brisket. Yeah.
Is that place actually called Speed
No, it's
Pig?
called Roadside Barbecue,
Oh, that's what I
but its
thought, okay.
logo is a pig traveling at high speed wearing goggles
Right, okay,
on a road
yeah.
sign.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
forget what
called
it's actually
Speed Pig. Well, its full name is Speed
Speed
Pig.
Pig goggles.
Goggles.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Featuring Mr. Brisket.
Yeah.
A GTA 5 trailer came out and excited you? You said?
Sort of. This is always how I feel when I see a GTA trailer, which is like, oh man, this just hits all the tonal notes. This is like the kind of bullshit I like. Like I was saying earlier today, like the Hauser brothers clearly are just in love with stuff like Goodfellas and Casino and Scorsese films like that and like other things in that kind of milieu. And like I like that kind of thing a lot. Like I'm a sucker for that kind of that kind of thing.
What's not to like?
Yeah, but like I know that the actual game is going to be like a bunch of weird assorted cutscenes of that stuff, and then just a bunch of GTA where you're just exploding everything in the universe. Yeah, which is fine. Like that's fine. I'm always happy to play that. The GTA games are like consistently some of the only games I end up playing. I mean, some of the only games of comparable length that I end up playing all the way through.
Yeah.
It's rare that I'll stick with a game for as long as those games are, but I usually will in the case of a GTA game, just because I enjoy the thing that they are. Like both of the things they're about I like, but they still never work that well together to me.
Yep.
You know, they just happen to both be in the same game, but I don't know how I feel about it. Like I see those trailers and I'm like, oh man, pretty cool. But
then you're gonna base jump off the Empire State Building with a rocket launcher and that. Some of the
maybe because it's 3 stories. At least because there's sort of 3 arcs that take place over what is presumably the length of a GTA game.
Yeah.
The arcs will be content compressed enough that you feel the story a little more. Maybe.
Yeah.
Says optimistic
That's what was so
guy.
nice about the DLC for GTA 4.
Yeah.
I mean, there's stuff that those guys do in their trailers that I feel like is more tonally successful than anything that's ever in the games. I mean, in the specific kind of tone they're going for. I mean, there's other stuff that's separately tonally successful in the games, but like one of the trailers that they released today, or was it today? I guess the first one of the 3, the backing track was Radio Gaga by Queen, and it was like an incredibly unusual, like interesting choice. Like the reason I brought up Scorsese before is because he's one of the few directors who both has directed a bunch of films in that kind of setting and with those kinds of characters, and also is really known for using really excellent usage of pop songs in his films, like especially in montage and stuff like that. And the Hauser brothers, I think, are just absolute goddamn pros at that. Like no one really does stuff like that in games. Like you don't see a lot of licensed music in games, and when you do, it's generally not that. Like you wouldn't see a Queen song licensed for use in a game very often. And the way those guys match like the tonality of the song to the subject matter of the trailer, I think is so strong. I felt the same way about the reveal trailer for GTA 5. What were you saying, Jake?
How often in a GTA game though does that music actually carry over between the 2 different moments? Like my memory of GTA 4 is
it's
all
all coming out of a car.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And like it seems like it would be simple to have your mind blown repeatedly if there's cutscenes that have the licensed track in them. Mm-hmm. And then instead of the music really awkwardly fading out at the exact same rate as the cutscene camera fades to black, I don't know if GTA 4 or if the DLC got better about this, but like if that music's going and they just know that for most players, they're probably within 2 or 3 seconds of that cutscene ending, going to walk into the car and start driving.
Yeah,
why
that would be
not
awesome.
carry the
that's
goddamn
what
music
Red
all
Dead
the
did.
time?
I was about to say Red Dead.
That's what Red Dead did.
Red Dead was
Yeah.
better about it.
Yeah.
You know what game was also good about that, although it didn't do the thing you said, but it's just an example of a game that has licensed music and composed score and like player-driven kind of soundtrack stuff is Brütal Legend. Like that game just has a huge library of songs that you can play in your car, but then it also has particular cutscenes that have specific licensed music stuff that is like the Mr. Corley. I'm sorry, Mr. Crawley track that plays when Ophelia like falls into the whatever Sea of Tears or whatever it is.
Right.
And like that was to me like an amazing usage of licensed music, and you actually rarely see that kind of thing in games.
The GTA games occasionally do it. They just draw the hard line. Like you'll
Yeah,
be in a
yeah,
room
yeah, yeah.
with guys
No, I see what you're
lounging
saying.
out, and then like
Yeah.
the huge music comes blasting on, and then it like cleverly cuts into being diegetic on a radio. But then it just goes, and all the music and all the ambience and everything
didn't
fades
the
out.
introduction to GTA 4 do that? Like, doesn't
Oh, maybe.
maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it stops and you get into the car, then the track starts again.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It seems like it's such.
I really like that opening though.
Oh, I did too. It's
Yeah.
fantastic. Yeah.
It just
Yeah.
the
Everybody
easiest-
apes that opening now. Every single open world
with the
sandbox
crazy
game.
3D text and
Or it's just
dudes
like-
walking around.
Oh no, I wasn't thinking about the 3D text. The title sequence. I was thinking about just the opening of getting in the car and talking to somebody.
Oh yeah.
The way that opening went into the just
Oh, it was
quietly
great.
driving to this guy's
Yeah,
apartment.
it was
Yeah,
fantastic.
it was really
It just
Yeah.
felt like it felt like
That was before you get all your infinite guns and
Yeah,
carjacking
yeah,
and shit.
yeah,
It's like
yeah.
really
oh, we're going to your
successful.
apartment, and it's that sort of that new city feeling. of I don't know where this is on the map. It's just
Yeah, that first 15 minutes of 4 was really good. But yeah.
I've actually played that before. I was going to say within around the same time the first time I ever went to New York. I didn't go to New York until I was older. So those feelings are very much the same. You come over to the subway and you're just like, where I'm going to go up 3 blocks, over 1 block, up 2 blocks, and my buddy's going to be talking to me the entire time because he grabbed me at the subway station. And then I'm like, where am I? And I'm going to crawl up into this one giant building and go to this one cube. And now I'm just here. Yeah, it's such a great feeling.
Yeah, absolutely.
That moment of getting to Mexico for the first time in Red Dead. Like, it doesn't happen for everyone. Some people fall off the horse or decide to ride another direction or do some other crazy thing. But for most people, it's huge. And hopefully that shows you, or hopefully it shows them, that you can get moments that feel like the GTA trailers that just are like your face-crushing things by not being afraid to bridge in and out of the cinematic stuff. I don't know. It's weird looking at a GTA 5 trailer and seeing the same weird kind of like disjointed lumpy arm mocap acting that like feels like it comes from the PS2. Like people have fingers now, but like whenever you see anyone shake hands or hug, it still looks like it's weird.
Super mocappy.
And it looks like like GTA 6 when that's on PS4 and Durango and whatever. If it's still doing that, it's gonna feel like a style choice. Like it's just gonna be like, oh, I guess that's what a GTA game. Like that's everyone just has one too few points of articulation in their body. I guess it's weird, but I don't know. The trailer was good. The trailer made me excited for a
the
game.
new one, the 3.
Yeah,
me too.
You should play Sleeping Dogs.
Yeah, I know. I intended to, and then I forgot.
Yeah.
What do you were playing that recently, right?
Yeah, I'm only like 2.5, 3 hours in.
What do you think? What's the rundown? Give me the rundown on Sleeping Dogs.
Sleeping Dogs is a third-person open-world sandbox game, the GTA vein, like lots of linear, like objective-based story first missions, but
connect the dots kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's set in Hong Kong, and you're an undercover cop. The voice acting is very, very good. It's beautiful looking, and there's some really smart choices, at least at the 2.5 to 3 hour mark. Yeah, just in that the type of violence that you're capable of is congruous with the person that you are and the job that you're sent to do.
So what is the kind of violence
like
that you're capable of?
It has, as opposed to being right now, it seems to have it's kind of a little clunky around the edges, but it has sort of an Arkham inspired Batman hand-to-hand combat. So
is that principally what you do? So you're not picking up
that's all. I got a knife once, and I got a tire iron out of the back of my car.
Okay, so you're not shooting in this game.
I haven't yet.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, imagine.
I'm sure you do.
At one time, I'm going to John Woo over
right.
something with and doves behind me.
But it's cool that at least it's not front loaded.
Yeah, I know. I mean, right now it's like I get in these really like you take damage, like physical damage. Your guy will like in a cutscene will be like beat to shit after a really tough fight.
That's cool.
Really, and that's persistent based on.
No, it ends up washing away over like.
Oh, okay, but but I mean,
it goes from one fight into it. Into a next cutscene, and I don't know if that's actually. I don't know if it's one of those things, right? It's sort of like the things we kind of go through, where it's like, is that just core cutscene content? If I didn't get through that fight, I would have looked that way.
It's stuff where you'd have to. But I feel it felt good enough that you'd have to go on the internet and actually look up whether or not it happened.
Yeah, it felt really good.
It was convincing to you. Yeah.
It was very, very convincing. Has really good like if you run and mantle, you like kind of like climb over stuff, and you're like running through Hong Kong chasing down criminals.
Yeah.
In a way that's really, really nice. It just has a blend of a lot of really good things. It has some stupid stuff in it, for sure.
Yeah.
I definitely played an hour of the game with my guy wearing boxer shorts and a Portal t-shirt on a motorcycle. It's actually on my Steam account. If you're a Steam friend of mine, just look at my community page and you'll see my dude barefoot in boxers on a motorcycle.
Sweet. But that was your call. Obviously.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's like when I play Dead Rising.
No, this is just what this character is really into. He's just a dork.
That's the box art. It's like boxers and a Portal t-shirt.
The voice. I mean, I just think they did a really nice job.
You said box art. I think I first heard that as boxars.
That's the boxars.
Sorry,
Jake was killing himself.
I realized that.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I had like a classic Thumb story to tell about it. Like, this thing happened. But right now, I'm just kind of enjoying the game.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard. It's actually hard though. I will say that. Like it's not very forgiving when it comes to the hand-to-hand combat. I just kind of want to hear what you have to say about it.
No, I should play it. To you, do they sell the city like GTA does?
No.
That's
not
my
the same
absolute
way.
favorite thing about GTA.
Not the exact same. I mean, I don't know yet though. It's one of those things where I kind of feel like I'm still stuck in the first area. There are some moments in the city I'm like, oh, this is awesome. You know, like there's some pretty neat stuff. But it doesn't. It feels a little more intimate in a way that a big city like.
Is it closer to Arkham?
Lording over you doesn't feel. But no. It's not Arkham in the fact that you go from section to section with loads. It's open world streaming like GTA. Yeah.
I just meant more like the sense, even Arkham Asylum and Arkham City, they both.
Stale.
It feels like it's trying to convey this feeling that you're in this huge space, but it kind of feels more gamey.
No, it just feels like a cheaper GTA.
Okay.
Yeah, but that doesn't. I say that only because GTA is all dollars,
Right.
and this is half
Most
of all
dollars,
dollars.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, I had something else I was going to say about it, but I think that it was just like it's like a really elegant choice. Like I get in these fights and they're gnarly and I'm beating it like in a fight with a gang member. I'm supposed to like go do this drug dealer or something, or I was stealing watches or something with this guy trying to get to the next guy, you know? And we got into a really bad fight. Like I think I definitely killed one guy. Everybody else didn't really get killed. They sort of got like movie beat up. I like threw one guy into like a phone booth and like I threw another guy over a ledge, but he fell maybe like 15 feet. But then one guy, I turned around and I got stabbed. This guy came out with a kitchen knife. I was like, oh my God. So I just hit him and he dropped it and I picked it up and just stabbed the shit out of him.
Right.
And then I dropped the kitchen knife. I was like, oh, that's the first person I killed in this video game.
Wow.
Right there.
Yeah.
That's the first. And then I kept playing. I didn't kill somebody for a while after that.
Yeah.
And this is a really good moment, you know, where I
that's
just look
awesome.
at the body and went, well, this cop has... Like it's just sort of that thing,
Right,
you know, you can see that
yeah.
in the movie where the guy goes undercover, he gets in some fisticuffs, and then eventually he stabs some guy to death, and you know the guy he's doing the job with, who's the real criminal, is like
Doesn't give a shit.
Let's go, dude. And you're like,
Yeah.
oh my God, I stabbed a guy to death, you know. And even if he doesn't do it again in the rest of the movie,
It's
that's
still
just
significant.
It's a very
Like,
as a player, I
crossed over
carried that,
time.
you know. So it's an easier game to role play for me out of the box than GTA because it doesn't have that sort of like
Yeah, it seems more internally consistent.
it doesn't have that sort of like I mean GTA is especially 4 I felt 4 I felt like had a lot of satire in it, you know.
Well, they all do, yeah.
Yeah, and it just doesn't have the satire, and I kind of appreciate that.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, the satire in GTA games is pretty heavy-handed.
Well, because
like,
it's also
pretty
just like
ridiculous.
it's
also
it's
I
that
think
weird cynical. Like obviously, a lot of satire is cynical, or all satire. I guess,
well, a lot of it also is still just like dick jokes and stuff, which is getting increasingly bizarre in the like more and more otherwise grounded
very
GTA.
The thing about
like
that,
Nico's a very nuanced character.
Yeah.
All that stuff pairs up with the gameplay more than it pairs up with the story.
It's true, but
they,
it just
they need to have all that bullshit because otherwise, if the world was completely sedate and normal, when your car takes a jump on fire and a bazooka shot blows up a helicopter, you better see a dick joke in the background of that, or like it's just completely garbage.
Yeah, but like
That
just DreamWorks executive right there. There better be a goddamn dick joke in here. Chomp cigar.
When that helicopter blows up, I better see something about a cock in the background. Okay.
Okay, that's an interesting note.
We just need some dongs. Get on it.
Does that have to be 3D art or okay?
You're the creatives. What you figure it out.
The texture, I don't know, whatever.
Alpha, what? But
God, alpha. Sorry, this like translucent, like
I don't know, like neon
outline of a dong, just like
fucking
starboard, like it's all
neon
effects.
shader, alpha shader dong.
Fireworks go off, and there's a dong hangs in the air and like yellow sparklers, and then falls away.
Anyway, but yeah, no, you're right. But like that is the. I just mean like they're getting increasingly divergent with the two.
Yes,
the two because the story. They're still like the story itself never like someone will mention I guess like fucking Joe Dong's gun emporium, I guess. The guy is like gonna buy a gun, but like beyond that, they never. It doesn't feel like the characters themselves in the
that was actually
cutscenes.
really good.
Sorry, Joe. Is it kind of that
Dong.
weird like guns? Like has that weird Chinese thing going on? Like it's
Joe-
racist too.
That
was actually really
Joe
good.
Dong.
That was actually
Write that one down.
A good GTA joke
Like,
has
it
to
was
be
like,
like
I like
Keep going.
Yeah.
ideally it would be scatological and sexual and racist,
Right.
and
I know, that's
possibly
why I
homophobic
like,
as
I had
well.
to
If you can
unpack
get all
that.
four
And
of
I was
those.
like, oh wow,
That's
that was
you've hit the bingo, but
Somebody's doing an accent really well. You're like, oh, wow, how did you do that?
Yeah.
It's right there like
You're
that.
more impressed than I am with my own comment there. But, they...
Bad.
I don't know. It's just... You're right that it's part of it is like goes hand in hand with the insanity of the gameplay, but like it also works just as hard against a lot of the other stuff they're doubling down on.
I'm not saying
the
that I
other
like
side
it or
of the
that I
game.
feel like it belongs, but I feel like you can't get too hard on the
Go on. Oh, you followed up hard with on.
Ruined.
signal lost. You can't be too hard on those scatological. Fuck everyone. You know what I mean? When there's cars flipping around,
I know what you're
shooting
saying.
each other,
I don't think-
and 600 police officers jumping, like driving their cars off the side of an
Yeah.
elevated freeway to chase you.
I don't think dick jokes is the only out.
The only way to
right?
save
like, I
that
don't
is
think
to
that's
land on a cushion pad of dick jokes.
I think it's
Yeah.
how those guys to themselves sort of justify the madness. They're sort of like, oh, it's a heightened weird parody world. Because
Right.
then it's
Right.
okay that cars go flying off jumps and 18
Yeah.
helicopters chase you.
I think it is
also,
too,
it's
but
the
it's-
poignant story of an immigrant.
Yeah, but I mean, like that's the part that is just starting to fall apart for me. Like,
right, and I think
and a lot of
the dongs are emblematic of the dissonance.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
say that the dongs are emblematic of the dissonance.
out of thumbs.
Yeah, write that down.
Whatever. The story in 5
Yeah.
seems more wacky than Nico's story. Again,
Oh, for sure.
which
it
like
definitely
it's
looks
a story
like it,
that has people like it has. It's not going all the way there, but it feels like it touches closer to where like Pain and Gain, the trailer for Pain and Gain, is going. Where it's like these people,
Can we see that this weekend? Seriously?
See what?
Pain and Gain?
It's fine. I'll see that stupid movie.
Okay.
all of these guys,
I'm gonna buy
like
tickets.
Nico's whole deal was like his story was way more legitimate and subdued, whereas these guys are more of the like. It feels like we have 3 characters who could all conceivably be played by Joe Pesci in a mobster movie.
Not the gangbanger guy. He seems like more earnest.
Yeah, I guess that's true. 2 out of the 3 trailers were like the story where the back of a car comes bursting open and 3 guys come running out of it, all not quite having the same plan in mind.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So here's what I think about that. I think you're totally right, and in fact, I personally think that if they actually play that stuff up in the cutscenes more, maybe more a la like Vice City or something. I think that could completely serve the role that all the really stupid dong jokes and everything do now, because I feel like it's easy to forget. We play so many like anyone who plays video games a lot, like especially violent video games, it's easy to forget how completely absurd any of the shit that's already going on is, right? Like it's like even
That's actually why I can't. Sorry. I don't. It's not easy for me to forget that. It's really tough for me to play a video game because of that stuff.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
You
mean just in-
pick it up after I'm
Yeah,
after.
sorry.
Yeah, no, I want to hear your thoughts. But like, what I was going to say is, I feel like you don't need to hammer home like craziness of the world. I think if you just raise for something like GTA, if you just raise the or maybe lower the level of self-seriousness in
Isn't that
the
kind of what the Saints
cutscenes.
Row games have been doing? Over the
Yeah, but
the
they just
development until
take it so far until I'm
felt
just
like-
not.
yeah.
I know everyone says like you got to play them, they're great, but it's so hard for me to want to like
No,
engage
you want
with that
a
world.
GTA game
but
that feels like the first half of the Coen Brothers output.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Where it's like it takes itself seriously, but at the same time, there's that guy screaming about the hi-hat all over the place, and like,
yeah.
Right.
you know.
I feel like, and even a version of it that's maybe a few degrees more just outwardly ridiculous, just because that's what the Hauser brothers like, more so than like a Coen's thing. But like, I feel like that you could pitch that in a way that would be at least somewhat less dissonant with the gameplay that's going on, and also not need to lean as heavily on just the completely sophomoric bullshit that they put in every sign on every establishment in the world. Because I don't feel like that stuff is substantial enough to carry the like the break between what's going on in the narrative and the story. But I feel like the narrative is already about such ridiculous things that if they just made the tone of the narrative a little less self-serious,
Sure.
then I feel like that could do a lot bridge that gap in a way that isn't quite so off-putting. Like
This is a thing that I think we've probably talked about a few times at this point.
yeah, maybe. Have we talked about it in the context of GTA 5? Because
not.
these trailers feel like they're more suited to that than the GTA 4, just the baseline GTA 4 story. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't know what I expect them to actually do, but I wish they would try and tackle that in a way that is feels like it's less just kind of bullshit than just making a bunch of stupid jokes.
Admit that your story is a little ridiculous,
Yeah.
as well as admitting that your game is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Well, that's actually, why I like Sleeping Dogs right now. So for me, like, you talked about how gamers are we. When you said we, I think you meant gamers.
I just meant
Those who
whoever.
play
I don't
games.
know. Yeah.
Like,
I mean-
we'll sort of see past the ridiculous. And I think we've talked about this so much. But for me, it's like going on a date where, and I'm on this date with with Sleeping Dogs right now, where everything's sort of like, no, I like that too. Yeah, and she hasn't done anything weird yet. I haven't done anything weird.
But as soon
And,
as
like-
your guy just flips out the rocket launcher.
Right,
like,
and as soon as, exactly, I'm like, oh, okay. So
All
really?
right.
Oh,
Okay.
I'm good on no cocaine for me, thank you. Like,
You
date over.
really want to go to that Gallagher show for our next date.
Yeah.
Really.
Gallagher, huh?
You're super. You just think he's great, huh?
Yeah,
You just think he's the best.
oh, that's really interesting.
It's funny.
No, I got an early day tomorrow, so this has been great, though. No, definitely do this again. No, don't buy tickets yet. I might.
Yeah, just in case. I think there might be a thing.
Yeah, I would hate for you to get both of them and then.
Yeah, I hate for you to waste $60.
Let's
That's
pencil
a lot
it
of
in,
money.
though,
$60
tentatively.
is-
We'll see.
Yeah,
We'll see. Goodbye.
I don't know.
Alt F4, delete local content.
Steve 1-2.
Yeah. The Steve Banner.
The Steve, like, 2 to the chest, 1 to the head is
Yeah.
Alt F4, delete local content.
Yeah, that's Steve's just like fatality Steam combo.
Yeah. You want to take a little break?
Sure. Wait, were you done? Were you done with the Sleeping
I'm
Dog
good.
stuff?
I'm good. I know it's an early break, but maybe we'll take multiple breaks.
Multi-break. Why not?
We could take one big break now. Choose, readers. Would you like to take one big break now? Or
Say McDonald's, if so.
Video games.
God, that is sorry. The more we say it, it sounds like the penitent man shall pass to me. The dawns of the dissonance. The dawns of the dawns.
Penitent Man will pass is what you
Oh,
say.
the Penitent Man will... Sorry, I totally didn't...
Oh, the Penitent Man will
Oh, the
pass.
Penitent Man will pass.
Oh, Jehovah.
I think it's Charlton.
Video games.
This week, we'd like to thank Audible, and you can go to audiblepodcast.com/wizard for a free audiobook download of your choosing.
And a free month of Audible subscription service.
Boom. For you. You probably already know this if you're an Idle Thumbs listener because they've sponsored the podcast before. So it's not news.
But maybe you just needed that extra little reminder.
Extra
little
pump.
pump.
It worked for me.
I don't know why I said pump. I couldn't decide whether I wanted to say extra push or extra bump. And
You went for
I landed on extra
Split the
pump.
difference. Maybe that an extra pump. Audiblepodcast.com/wizard. Get your extra audiobook pump. Oh, pump
It actually,
and push.
I ended
Bump
up
and-
subscribing a month ago. Mm-hmm. So yeah, within my first month, listening to Wolf Hall. Well, I think I talked about that maybe, but
You said you were considering it.
oh, I did it.
You did it.
You know what
You're
pushed me
doing it.
over the edge was the WhisperNet stuff. To be perfectly honest,
Yeah. Jake's revelations from the last
Yeah.
time we were sponsored by them.
when your girlfriend realized that the Audible podcast app syncs with your Kindle because of Amazon being at the core of all these things. So with newer books that have WhisperNet built in on the Audible side, you can. I don't even know if it's newer books, so don't take
Some books support it and some
Yeah.
don't. Okay.
But it's great because I'll be in the car listening, and then I'll get into my house and read on my Kindle or my iPad, and it's all on the right page, which feels like magic. It also just feels like the way it should work. When
Yeah.
things work like that, it's good. It's really nice.
Yeah, where you don't need to think about it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's so funny, like becoming an Audible customer and listening to Wolf Hall was an experiment, but I know now the type of books that I'll be getting in the future as an Audible listener, I think.
Can you like categorize
Well,
that?
yeah, I mean, definitely because I've mentioned Anthony Bourdain's books, but I think memoirs read by the person who wrote them. Yeah, no, that totally is
makes
something
sense.
that I think would be, or anything that's sort of written in the author's voice.
Alternatively, Immanuel Kant as read by Charlton Heston.
Well, like I was saying,
Which is probably the next best thing.
Or the
to
opposite.
a memoir written by the...
who sent that in?
That was Matthew Walden sent us that on Twitter. Which that was that the revelation that exists was kind of mind blowing to me. And Nick said that apparently this the Giants of Philosophy series
that's part of a
apparently has a number of great philosophers as read by Charlton Heston of all people. So that's probably pretty majestic.
So you can hear that for free if you go to audiblepodcast.com/wizard and choose to use that as your one free audiobook download.
God, that'd be boss. That would just be like, this is my starting here, see what's after it. Immanuel Kant, Charlton Heston, Wombo combo.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah.
Video games.
Jake, you and I played Monaco.
And Nick.
Nick played. He died playing Monaco.
Survey course.
But I think
Monaco.
the thing about that is it illuminated to me that Monaco is needs to be a very tutorialized game. You can't just jump in because there's so much of the level of abstraction to this game.
Yeah.
It's a top-down 2D stealth heist
Thing.
game that is a single player and cooperative 2 to 4 players, I think.
I think it's
Or
1 to 4
players.
It's 1 to 4 players where you play as some guys who are trying to steal things basically by picking locks and sneaking past guards and hacking laser grids and doing all these various things.
It's so abstract in its art style, though. It's like really sort of like they're like pixel block men.
It's one of those games. Like the first time I saw Monaco was in the IGF a few years ago when it showed up.
Yeah, me too.
And it's one of the one of the dozens of games in the IGF that if you are standing too far away from it, you can't tell what differentiates it from other IGF games because it's just a bunch of neon-colored blocks with weird sort of beams of light flying out of them. So it's got a weird sort of hurdle to get over where the entire map, when your guys aren't in it, the map just looks like the blueprint, which I guess the idea is that it's like supposed to be a weird abstraction of the sort of like Ocean's 11 heist thing where you see the guys lay the blueprint out and then as that's happening you see the guys doing the heist at the same time. I guess like that was sort of my internalization of that, but anything that's within your character's line of sight on the map fills in, so the blueprint gets filled in with full color of the floor of the room and like the little footstep icons that you maybe see if you're close enough to a guard to hear him. If you walk past the window where the guy is, your cone of vision fills up that room and you can see the guy pacing back and forth. 4 different players have there's different classes that you can choose from. I think it looks like you can double up on classes as well. But there's
the lockpick who can get through doors faster, the mole who can just barrel through walls, which is hilarious.
That's so
and
good.
Just dig. Yeah. There's the cleaner who can like knock people out.
And then there's the surveillance dude whose name I don't remember. The guy who can, if you walk around quietly, you can hear guards.
The lookout.
The lookout, yeah.
Yeah, and then I think there's one or two, maybe
there's at least one other class that we got to but didn't play, I think.
Yeah.
Sean and I we were just playing 2-player because we only have 2 Xbox controllers in the office, but I don't know.
You really liked it.
I really, really did like it.
When we were working together, when we were like slowing down and going, like just moving through the boards, like really like...
Yeah, when we were actually being a team, it felt like a heist for a minute.
Right. But there's no sort of... It's kind of got that always like my Metal Gear problem where it's... once I get busted, it's just you should just play yakety sax. You know, and it kind of does that actually.
Just sort of,
well, that's like stealth games in general.
Yeah.
Like Hitman. Almost anything that is highly dependent on not being seen, like turns into comedy of errors as soon as you're.
I wished though that and maybe it is just that we're bad at it because we did only play 45 minutes of it. But I kind of wanted just like, okay, I've been seen. Just make it a quick death. So I could just like give me right now. Let me just re-roll this because I'm already so fucked that I'm going to start over anyway.
We kind of hit start restart,
or like
send his way back.
Make it easier to escape. One of those two things. Like,
or just have an escape mechanism.
But again, like maybe if we get to X, like if I played it for X number of hours, I'd go back and be like, ugh, we were just dumb, and that's the reason that it was playing the way that it was, which is possible.
What's funny is I thought like. Just a game we played cooperatively, even though they're completely different games and strive to do completely different things. And I don't even think Spelunky means to be cooperative. I think it's kind of single player first oftentimes in its design. But when we co-op Spelunky versus co-oping Monaco, I think Spelunky's way harder co-op, but I didn't ever get to that point where I'm like, oh, okay. You know, I was at yakety sax moment. You just die.
Spelunky's just kind of bonkers.
Yeah.
Like any game that is based around stealth or...
it always kills me when there's that sort of weird
detection.
slow fade out on the fail state of a game, you know what I mean? It's not just Monaco. It's like that always is this thing that's like really, as on the design side, it's like really difficult for me.
There was we did one run through of like the, I think, third scenario that we got to, and it got to the point where we'd be like, you'd be keeping an eye on guards, I would hack the computer to drop the lasers, we'd all move into the next room, deliberately like tiptoe past the guy who was just looking at his computer, also stealing all the gold coins in that room because it's a video game, and then sneaking all the way back out with the intelligence. At which point we thought we had to go through the entire ground floor, but then I tunneled a hole out of the wall and then cut a hole in the fence, and we just jumped into the car and drove away. Like that felt badass. That felt really good.
Yeah.
Like that was.
Well, actually, what game does it really well is Hotline Miami.
Hotline Miami and Monaco are really close friends. It's really weird. Like
they're completely different mechanics, like how you interact with the hurdles that you're going to encounter, but traversal and
still,
the way your brain works, and like, don't let this guy see me. I'm going to go into the next room. I'm going to do these 3 things in this order. But and you're going to execute.
Yeah, the
problem is when you don't execute in Monaco, you're just going to run around the level for a full minute, being chased by every guard, tripping every wire, and just not knowing what to do. And you should restart. Yeah. The fact that you should restart just means they should just
there were times,
ice you.
There were times though when I felt like I was getting a little more.
It's tough though because you don't want them to do that because then like the moment you have that's like a miraculous. Comeback. I haven't played this game enough to know like how possible that is or like what the mechanism.
It's better in 4-player.
Yeah, probably so.
I bet you can end up because there's recovery.
Just like a miraculous comeback is sort of just murder everybody in the scene though.
But there's
I would just rather the systems not prescribe that. Like when you said slow fail state, the thing that reminded me of was StarCraft II, which Nick and I have been playing a lot of recently. And like we played 2v2, and I think we said in a recent podcast we went that year where we just played it like every night. Then we went 2 years without playing it at all, and now we're playing it not every night, but like once every couple nights, pretty regularly for a couple hours, and definitely every time we lose, not every time, but I would say at least 75% of the time when we lose, like us officially quitting and like surrendering the game comes after like maybe 3 to 5 minutes of like. All right, I think we can. That wasn't too bad. I think we can come back.
Right,
we can come back. And it's like, and what's going on while that's happening is we're like rebuilding the shreds of our economy.
Right.
And then the opponent is just in their own fog of war with like 400,000 guys, and we're just like, I think
what's
they
going on is
they didn't quite kill us. We held them off. I think it's okay. Destruction, like death.
The term for that in Dota, they're so fed that they could just come in and just stomp you. But I don't know if that comparison tracks because you're playing a competitive game, and B, the amount of time it takes to get back to that state is a long time. It's like you have to quit out. It'd be another 15 minutes before you're at that state where like the tension of can we turn this around?
I think in 4-player it might be
it's
more
competitive. It's a lot faster in StarCraft than it is in Dota for what it's worth.
Oh, you guys are still talking about StarCraft and Dota. Sorry, I thought you were talking about Monaco. Sorry.
I am. I'm just saying, like I think in Monaco.
I know. I'm just saying Sean's reference for competitive game is Dota. So I'm saying that frame of reference I don't think is the same as StarCraft. Like in StarCraft, the matches are shorter. Like you get back, the matchmaking puts you in a game a lot faster. Like it's not that like 15-minute downtime. Like it's a lot faster than that.
Sure. Monaco, to me, when we haven't played 4-player, but what it seems like its model of death and slow fail most closely models is Left 4 Dead, because it has your guy. If your guy gets killed and skeleton's out, because your guy in this game looks like he turns into a little pixel art skeleton, or not pixel art, but sort of stylized, weird, minimal art skeleton, another player can come back into the room and do a really long heal move on that person, which resuscitates them. So you could.
I think they must oftentimes to clear the board.
Oh, okay, because you can hypothetically have a scenario. Well, yeah, because everyone has to leave the room, I imagine. But you could have a situation where 3 people die, but like. A character who can quickly escape a room, like a lockpick, could jump out of there fast, or someone could climb the stairs, wait for the guards to die down. And if you were deep into this game, I could see you then creeping around, resuscitating one person, and then the 2 of you each go and resuscitate one of the other people, and that does more closely map to Left 4 Dead to me.
That's really
good.
Like, that's astute.
There's no hope. There's no hope. There's no hope, and then you end up slowly bringing your entire team back. And in 2-player, that was less likely for us because the 2 of us would get trapped because I don't know if it's because we were playing spatially so close to each other because we hadn't gotten the hang of how to teamwork in a spatially diverse enough way that someone could come back around and save you, but it just felt like we both just died at the same time over and over again. It felt like chumps. So I would really love to play some 4-player.
Yeah, that'd be great.
We'll do it. Yeah.
The mole class was really fun. Like being able to just like a class in a game like this where there is this map that clearly is very deliberately laid out, but then you as a character are the guy who can dig holes in walls, which is like a heist archetype, but having that just let you drill through anything, it's loud as shit. When you finally punch through the wall, it triggers anyone who's remotely nearby, but like that final escape.
So if you've got your other characters distracting everyone in like another direction, I don't know what the mechanics of this game are.
Well, we went in to like steal some stuff, and we were just trying to get out. And Jake sort of saw that like if we dig through this wall, then go left and dig through this wall, and then we dig through one more wall,
it
and
was
be
like,
out to the van without having to get through
okay,
the rest.
We
of it.
were getting hosed right at the end because we had grabbed the what were we getting, visas or passports or something out of an embassy.
This is like a tutorial level.
Yeah, and we ran out, and we had aggroed a bunch of guards at the very end. And then I looked and was like, oh man, I can just dig through these 2 blocks and we can just hop the fence into the van. And we did it, and then it felt
like a full-on escape.
Yeah,
It felt like an Ocean's 11.
where
like,
a guy is just at the end is like, fuck it, it just blows up a wall, which is the last thing you should ever do. But if you're like,
But if it
literally,
is
like,
in fact the last thing.
right, if you're like, the fan is on the other side of this wall, I know it.
Yeah.
It was good. Like, and
that's great.
that made me think that there was some good stuff in here.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
good.
you're making me like it more now. Because I was like solid, like, oh, that was fun, but I wasn't just like advocate. Like I wasn't capable of advocating the way you are now. And then I'm like, oh wait, no,
It's
it
tough
was
because
good.
I mean we've only played 45 minutes. We've only played 2 players, so who knows how this holds up well. But I've heard from many people whose opinions I like and trust that there is some pretty solid stuff the more you play it. Also, the soundtrack is comedy,
hilarious.
like
God, it's
ragtime,
good.
so it just
Yeah.
makes everything feel like a silent movie full of pratfalls.
Yeah.
It's weird.
No, it's
It's like
sort
a
of
French
great.
vibe across the whole thing too. I feel
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, the guards call out French and stuff.
Yeah, it's cool.
It's in Monaco.
Yeah, no, I know. I mean,
Duh.
yeah.
That was for me. That was me. My realization.
Yeah, I want to play it some more. It's the aesthetic is funky. It takes. I still didn't fully get used to it in the
You
time
have to
that we
kind
were
of
playing
learn
it.
to see the game.
It's cool, Monaco.
Cool.
I hope we play it some more. Video games.
I want to talk to you about Dota, but I know I'm not allowed to.
You guys have a whole other podcast for that.
One day.
One day we might. What do you want to say? Because
No.
Chris is kind of
Be the
look up
change
mail.
you
We've
wish
got
to make
as
in the
much time
world.
as it takes Chris to open up his phone
No, you
and find a mail.
don't.
While Chris was looking up mail,
Yeah.
I do want to tell everybody that Idle Thumbs is a new member of the family.
Oh, yeah.
We have a new intern named Luke who is joining us, and wrapping up some odds and ends, and hopefully going to be pointed at some cool stuff that we want to do going forward at idlethumbs.net.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
First off, if you heard from me, Jake, in a text support email, and then I never wrote you back because I
Or if
suck,
you never heard from anyone.
or if you never heard from anyone at all because we're even worse than that, maybe I don't know which one's
for
worse.
any issue relating to anything you got in the Kickstarter, including
Anything.
Anything.
including the 30
Anything bad happened to you in the last?
Yeah. So Luke is instantly like this assassinating those issues.
Yeah, he's been looking through all of our email addresses, just going, God, "You guys suck at this. You're terrible."
Yeah.
and that's true. So
Yeah, we got actual software that handles support tickets rather than just doing it all through a Gmail inbox, which we were failing at.
Yeah. So if you ever have an issue with any of that stuff, support at idlethumbs.net, and Luke's eyes will instantly be on it.
or if you want to just give Luke a little support,
Yeah, if you're supposed to, hey man,
true.
like be a Luke
sorry,
booster.
sorry, you got to hang out. Sorry, you got to deal with these
Idiots.
jokers.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he's really wonderful, and we're really happy to have him.
Cool. So
You can email him at luke@idlethumbs.net.
that's true. You can also separately do that if
Yeah.
you want to bypass support at idlethumbs.net. Jay
Jay Allard.
Jay Allard, aka Hypo C, says, I don't know how to pronounce what this guy's name is, what this person's name is. It might be early. This person says, I don't know how important this is, but in Idle Thumbs 102, you said to play Kerbal Space Program, you had to hit wikis for controls like space to stage and methods like transfer orbits. There are plenty of super abstruse controls like docking mode, fuel transfer, and camera tricks, but I actually think the built-in training missions are pretty great, concise and well-gated. If you go through them, you'll have hands-on not only flown and staged, but adjusted and circularized orbits, done a plane change, aimed a lunar transfer orbit, and carried out an orbital insertion burn, and optionally done a basic no-atmosphere landing.
We must have just not found the training
He's
missions that we were
correct.
playing.
No, I did find them eventually. Yeah, they're really good.
Okay,
they
'cause
are
we-
actually really good.
We saw the
cool.
campaign
For a game like
button.
this, they're extremely well
Okay,
done. Yeah.
how do you get to those? Because your first impression right now is you hit play game, and then it says campaign, which is dimmed out, and then it says sandbox, which doesn't have an easy link to a training mission. Or is it right on the menu?
I think it's right on the menu. I think it's right on the menu. Yeah.
Kerbal Space Program.
You said something really insightful about Kerbal
Did
on
I?
Twitter late at night, like 3 days ago.
Oh, that was a what is game moment. That was intense.
Oh,
You
man,
said
what?
something about-
I didn't see this.
Oh, yeah.
Gosh.
Well, we can
You
find it
tweet a lot,
easily.
yeah. I'll
What
look
did you
at it.
say?
I'll look here. Look
It was something about.
It was really insightful.
It was after.
This better be good.
Yeah, well, no, it was after. It was
After your
I mean, I don't know.
docking
Yeah, it was after the docking moment.
So Nick, this weekend, he pulled off his first orbital docking maneuver where he had a craft that was already in orbit around Kerbal, around the Earth, essentially, and he piloted another craft within range and successfully docked the two.
Have you ever
crafts.
seen me that excited about anything in my life?
So it was tense as hell. It was crazy.
It was
one of the interesting things about it is that because this game obviously is set in space, it's actually really hard to gauge scale, speed, and distance because none of the things that we have on Earth that help our brains do that are there, like recognizable landmarks, other people, objects whose size we know. When two objects are just going towards another in space, your brain loses track of like how fast they're going and how close they are and so on. And so Nick was like painstakingly approaching this orbiting craft with his little capsule, and he was like constantly readjusting and like firing his thrusters a little bit in that direction and like readjusting and blah blah blah. And then all of a sudden he was right there, and it caught me completely by surprise. And suddenly he was like 5 meters away from it.
Scale. Then
and watching
even at that point, though, then it became even more intense.
I know, then it became this other game where
you're rotating, like you could actually collide and ruin the whole thing.
Yeah,
but
and it was
so
crazy to think about, like to have this one specific point on this craft have to dock at the precise angle with another specific point on another craft in space while they're
Meanwhile, you're going
orbiting,
2,000 meters
like,
per second around a planet.
It was
in actuality.
He was sitting there
like,
doing
just,
it, and it seriously felt like I was watching like Apollo 13 or something. Like it was
ridiculous.
so tense
It was the coolest
to watch
thing.
him pull this off. And you
I've
think
done it
about
again.
what those guys who do that in real life have to go through, and it's like you can't. A game helps you appreciate that in a way that you couldn't just from seeing a film, and it was watching him do that was incredible. And when he got it, it was shocking. Like for me, there was this like a couple seconds of my brain not registering like what had happened. It's like, oh my god, you did a ridiculous thing just now. Like you did a preposterous thing.
Yeah, it took a long time. It took
And
like 2 hours.
And also, what's hilarious about it is that achievement is like so minuscule on the scale of what people have done in Kerbal Space Program. Like
embarrassing.
That trailer that I've posted on Twitter twice so far, the exact same trailer, the Dream Fly Build trailer. Just search for that Kerbal Space Program. I think it's
the video's amazing.
Fly Build or something, and it's just a fan made trailer where someone has cut together a bunch of footage from the game and set it to some aspiring majestic music.
M83.
M83, and the things that go on in that trailer are just they are awe-inspiring, beyond words. And I kept thinking about how totally just astounding it must be as a developer of that game to look at what people have created. Like, not just like crazy cutscenes that you look at and they're amazing, but like creating something that allows just people playing your game to create stuff that is that just majestic in the extreme. I don't know, it was amazing.
So Nick Brecken writes. Nick Breon writes. Can I read your tweets?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right.
I can't talk today anyway.
You gotta speak to your tweets.
I'll speak to the tweets.
He said, Kerbal Space Program is good because it's an open game about exploration that forces you to develop a tangible skill set. In the same way that Miyamoto makes you fumble for every inch, Kerbal requires an investment just to take the most basic baby steps. Yeah. Reaching a new game location is infinitely more rewarding when you've put in a little work. Holding W for an hour doesn't compare. And then you said, I will always be more interested in game worlds that define their boundaries with conundrums rather than arbitrary gates. Also space.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's good.
Good tweets.
And then the conclusion to that was a funny way to spend your Sunday afternoon is messing around with video codecs.
Yeah.
That's not quite as insightful.
No.
That really is that.
It's true, though.
Oh, the actual
I was
end
trying to
was
cut
really
down
good,
that
though.
stream.
The actual end was really good.
Oh, yeah.
You were going to say something, and then I interrupted you.
No, I mean, I don't know. It's just, I think Miyamoto got me thinking about that more recently, and just the idea that like open world games, there's a way to make an open world game, and it's just it's followed to the letter for the most part. You've got content, it's all gated off, you're progressing from one section to the other, everything is, and in these games just say, here's the whole experience.
Yeah.
Like
There are
the
actual
thing you
things you're
do
not
to
gonna
go
be
from
able-
A to B is something you determine. Also, it's something that you have to learn how to do. Like the actual like verbs and things that you do in that game are things like you have to have creativity rather than just playing through the stuff, and that to me is just like astounding. Like that is where open world games I feel like are making progress right now and are actually interesting.
A certain strain of them is for sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean the ones that I like right now.
I mean, the ones that are probably not like published by major publishers, basically, because you just can't get stuff like that through that system for obvious reasons. But the interesting thing is that those games are gated as well, but the gating is entirely on the player side,
right?
Not
it's
the
a
game
different
logic
kind of
side.
gating.
Yeah, and it's a much more interesting kind, I think, is your claim, and I agree with that. Which is that you can't do all this. You also can't see all the content at the beginning of Kerbal Space Program, but that's just because you're not capable of achieving it, not because the game is just deciding, I'm not going to let you right now.
Right.
And that's really interesting. That's just a fundamentally different approach to game design.
It requires a little bit of, I don't know. I wouldn't say honesty. Because, I mean, you can sit down and read a guide, how to make the best spaceship, create that spaceship, and then just follow something to the letter and have a version, play through a version of this game that is just, I'm doing a walkthrough and, whatever. But I feel like that's, that you're cheating yourself out of, like, a really amazing experience by doing that. Whereas, most open world games, whatever, like you no matter how many guides you read, you're still going to play at a minimum number of hours because that's just the way that they're constructed. And I feel like, I don't know, like a lot of games require you to be honest while playing them, like, not Neptune's Pride, but, but yeah, I just feel like that is a better experience overall. Anyway, it's a good game. It's a really fucking good game.
Well, it also means something when you see like any game could have all that stuff from that Kerbal Space Program trailer in it, just as cutscenes in a game, but it wouldn't be very interesting at all, because it doesn't mean anything.
Yep.
Games.
Cool.
Yeah, Kerbal Space Program is a pretty ridiculous achievement. It's impressive that it exists.
Oh, it has good achievements?
Oh, you know what I was thinking about? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I did want to mention because...
Sorry, thanks, Dad.
I did want to mention because I think in the last episode we were wondering, like, what are they going to do with this game? Are they, it'd be great as multiplayer. They're actually, like, they came out and said that they want to finish the campaign and release the game as a standalone thing, but then they're also going to do, like, major expansions, and one of them they're hoping is multiplayer, which is really
crazy.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not like something they've set in stone, but that's the plan, tentatively.
I was also going to say, sorry to keep just going on about this game, but I was thinking this weekend about the choice to have the game populated by these weird little exaggerated creatures, Kerbals, rather than human beings that look like human beings. It was interesting because both of you guys, I think Sean and Nick, was it? I think was it you guys who said that was why you didn't ever like approach the game in the first place? It was probably the same for me. I can't really remember specifically, but I imagine I had a similar reaction. Even though we got a bunch of recommendations about it, like those little guys just aren't super tantalizing. And it's funny because that's still true. Like I think that probably is a thing that kept us from diving into the game. But I also, in retrospect, feel like for the game that it is, it's actually the right choice.
I came to the same conclusion as you, and I think the answer to that is just the marketing should have been Crazy Space Station and still had Kerbals in the game.
I agree. I mean, they probably could have had Kerbals in the key art without having the key art be nothing but huge Kerbal faces.
Yeah, just those three green guys in astronaut suits does not show you anything about
it. It doesn't tell you what that experience is.
You know what actually would have been great is the piece of artwork that shows up, I think, in loading screens in the game, maybe, where which apparently was a fan-created piece of artwork that the developers have now kind of adopted with the permission of that fan. Where it has the three Kerbals. It's painted, but they're in, clearly the implication is they're in a capsule that is like hurtling into space or back to Earth or something, and you see kind of reflected in their visors the glare of like the heat from the heat shield as they're entering the atmosphere or whatever it is. It's like a very classical image, like from depictions of space travel, where the astronauts are just like pushed back in their seats, and it's totally intense, but they still look like Kerbals. And I feel like that image is way more alluring than just the three cartoon guys kind of rendered from the thing. Like there probably could have been ways to spin that in a way that still communicates the interesting thing about the game. But the reason I think that character design ultimately works in the game itself is that it's a similar thing to what I was talking about last week or the week before about how the honesty and the fidelity of the simulation is equally rigorous regardless of whether you're playing the game like a total weirdo or really earnestly. Like whether you have just the goofy Jake rocket with like 42 little boosters that spins around, or whether you're faithfully reconstructing the Gemini program or whatever, like the game treats them equally well. And I feel like having the really legitimate system simulation paired with the kind of slightly goofy characters, I feel like is a good way of splitting that difference and acknowledging the realities of both sides of what you can do in this game. And it works for me in the actual game itself.
No, I know. I mean,
even though I don't think it's outwardly sold properly.
I think if it was just like an official NASA game, it just wouldn't have the same.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it would be. I would actually be turned off in a different way.
In a different way, yeah. You'd almost feel like you're supposed to be recreating specific things rather than like taking it on for your own.
You also probably feel safer experimenting with the lives of Kerbals than you would if they were actually humanoids.
If they were humans, yeah.
Although, man, I get pretty attached to those guys. I feel really bad when you have to just strand them in space or whatever. They're adorable. They're little cute guys.
They're scientists. They're fucking astronauts. They spent 15 years in school.
Yeah. Well, I want to protect them.
They're adorable.
They're adorable.
Oh, look at you.
He's like, I'm a doctor.
Excuse me.
Touch me again, I'll have you.
Dr. Kerbal to you.
We're not all named Kerbal, you know.
I think they are. I think they're all called Kerbal. I think their last name is Kerbin or something. They all have the same surname, I think.
It's weird.
Yeah, it's pretty weird.
It alludes to a strange backstory of Kerbal Space
It's like
Yeah,
Sweden,
it
or
does.
Not Sweden. What is it? It's Iceland. How like
And to
everybody
our
has the
Icelandic
same-
listeners, fuck you.
Yeah.
No, I was reading about this
We're
recently.
all Kerbals to Chris.
No, I think it was Patrick Klepek who was telling me about this. There's like an app.
Oh, he's a real...
Well, he's going there
he's
for the
been there,
Eve
yeah.
thing.
Sorry,
but he was saying
Patrick,
there's like
I was kidding.
a mobile phone
source.
app you can get in Iceland that will like look up genealogy, so you can of someone you're about to have sex with, so you can make sure that you're not related, because the population is so small that there's just a lot more genealogical overlap than in like the United States or something, or most European countries.
Anyway, this is also coming to Kerbal Space Program.
I don't know. I could be wrong about this, but I blame Patrick Klepek.
Blame
if that's
giantbomb.com.
incorrect.
Gosh, it'd
Yeah.
be so good if they did an expansion pack that was just Settlers of Mars.
Oh man, you
So
populate.
And then you go up there and you come back and you left your 3 Kerbals there, and there's just a 4th baby Kerbal. When you get back, what happened? And they're like, shrugging in their Mars garden,
Yeah,
growing their cabbages.
Peter Mars Garden. I quit. Idle thumbs forever.
Okay, it's been excellent.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
Bye. Video games.
Wait, we're actually done?
So why not? I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening.
I was driving. Okay, fuck it. I'll just tell you. I'll just tell you the story
on the
because it's
precipice
not
here.
really like a performance piece, because
Yeah.
there's a musical accompaniment. Because I was driving with Jake, from Telltale, and for some reason we're on the Golden Gate Bridge, which made it almost more perfect. But
Oh yeah, I made it. Just
it was
choice.
a little, So we're driving and we're literally getting on the bridge, and I'm listening to Pandora, which is just all I listen to on the commute. And I think the station was like Broken Bells or somebody, but the song from Little Miss Sunshine played. And then we realized on the 3 miles that is the, or whatever, the 2 point whatever miles that is the Golden Gate Bridge, that you can just ad-lib any Kickstarter video to this song. It's incredible. Hold on. This is the most amazing thing. It's so fun. Basically, you have a party, like, get some beer, and just play this song, and everybody can just riff as close to, like, I don't even have an idea right now. Watch.
You can live it up in San Francisco as just insufferable fucking hipster nerd awful bullshit.
Hi, guys. So we were sitting around one day recording our podcast, and we started thinking to ourselves, wouldn't it be great if there was just a musical track that whenever you talk to it, it felt like you were going to do something special? And we didn't set out to change the world. But what we realized is, as soon as those pianos come in, and you feel that thing inside you really start to well up, you can do anything.